we ring this peace bowl this morning with the energy I bring you from a long walk around Lynx Lake. And with this sound, we affirm our collective hope for peace on this earth. And we also affirm that these lands that we love, these lands that are full of such beauty and that fill our hearts with such joy when we walk through them, that these lands are the ancestral lands, excuse me, of the Yavapai people, the Cuevquepayas, the Tolquepayas, the Wipukepas, and the Yavapai. This morning, we are entering, as we begin, into a wild space. Some of you have wild spaces that you go to in Arizona. This is a wild space in Utah, where the Great Salt Lake mirrors the mountains, where there is an island with herds of buffalo and antelope and the sound of birds. Welcome to Antelope Island.
Welcome to Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation on this gorgeous, gorgeous day in Prescott. I'm Tracy Augustine, your worship associate today. We extend a warm welcome to all. We are glad you are able to join us here in person or on Zoom. Hi, Kelsey. Hi, Jim. Hi, Mary. Charlotte. There's quite a few on Zoom. It was great to see so many of you yesterday, and thanks to the Vision Steering Committee and all those involved who put together such a great day and a yummy lunch. Please take a moment now, if you haven't already, to set your phones on worship mode. This is the mission statement of our congregation. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal, and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Please join us after the service for coffee and conversation in Davis Hall, or for those on Zoom, you'll be able to join the breakout groups so you can chat with your fellow Zoomers. If you are joining us for the first time, please check out our website at prescottuu.org for more information about GPUUC. If you're here in person, there will be time at the end of the service to introduce yourself, and then we'd love it if you'd stay and talk to some other members. We thank our pianist, Lena Hubin, our choir director, Mary Lou Prince, and our choir, the Granite Peak Singers, our ever-growing choir. Tracy Powers, who is running the tech in the back, and all our Sunday morning greeters and volunteers. In addition to the announcements that you may have seen, they were showing on the screen when you came in before the service, you can read about other things happening at GPUUC in the Weekly Peak newsletter, on our website, in Reverend Patty's videos, and we do have some printed copies of the announcements at the welcome table. If you haven't already, there are a few things I'd like to call out that you should mark your calendars for. Our largest community service fundraiser, Empty Bowls, is coming up on September 17th between 11 and 2. Thank you for all those who've already signed up to volunteer. And if you haven't signed up for volunteering, which I think we're in good shape on, please come and join us and get a bowl and some yummy soup. Also, our largest fundraiser for our congregation is coming up, and that's the services auction on Friday, October 27th. It's on Friday this year. If you are new, please ask about these fun events at the coffee. Also, hopefully you have on your calendar to join us for the Interfaith Choir concert, where the Granite Peak Singers will be singing, led by Mary Lou Prince. And that concert is on September 5th. It's Women of Courage at the Trinity Presbyterian Church. Sandra Palacios, our Faith Development Coordinator, is teaching ages 5 and older across the street at the Faith Development Building.
Good morning. We were blessed yesterday when many of us entered into a conversation with Reverend Sarah Gibb Millspaugh, and then we were able to talk with each other in this space, listening and speaking from our hearts. Here in Prescott, sometimes we feel far from Boston, where our Unitarian Universalist Association has its headquarters. But we are connected. And as a UU congregation, we are part of the web of action and care that stretches out through the world and deep into the communities throughout North America. We are connected with the efforts of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, they are doing amazing works all through the world. But sometimes we feel alone and far from other congregations. But their light is with us. Their energy is flowing to us. And when we have eyes to see, and Reverend Sarah's presence among us this weekend is an embodiment of that connection. So today we are lighting our chalice for the energy and passion for justice of Unitarian Universalists everywhere, and for the light of our Unitarian Universalist Association, which is working to help us articulate and reach for our dreams.
For those who couldn't hear the words I just spoke without a mic, I said, we do need one another to light our chalice. We need one another in so many ways, and it is a pleasure and a joy to be with you and see how our faith is shining out in Prescott and beyond. Our words of gathering come from the Reverend Manish K. Mishra Marzetti. Between rocking the boat and sitting down, between stirring things up and peacefully going along, we find ourselves here in community, each called from many different journeys, many different life paths onto this river road. Some are here because the rocking of the boat has been too much tumult, too much uncertainty, too much pain. Some are here with questions about where this boat is going, how to best steer it, where this journey ends. Others are here as lovers of the journey, lovers of life itself. Here in front, beside, behind, each a passenger, each a captain, doing the best we can. Rest here in your boat with me, the river calls. Listen to how I flow, the sound of life coursing all around you. Let the current hold you. Let the current guide you. The river that gently flows through your soul whispers, come, let us worship. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn 347, Gather the Spirit. You'll find this in your gray hymnals.
Thank you. There's a couple of you I want to invite to the choir. several, in fact. Art? And now let us say our covenant together, remembering what we were doing yesterday, and that was thinking about these words we have chosen to articulate something important about who we are. And we were asked to imagine, what would that look like if we lived these words out in the world? So these are the words of our covenant. Let us say them together. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. And now I invite you into another kind of time. Let us listen to this peace bowl. And I'm going to take you on a meditation this morning up the mountain to where I look out. Let us breathe together and consider this beautiful air we are so blessed with. And feel beneath our feet this earth that has held us up for however many years we have had on this earth. I invite you today on the walk I took this morning when I veered off from Louis's usual walk and walked up that steep path. I invite you to come on this journey with me however you are able, perhaps with a walker, maybe having a wheelchair, as Ken Briefer did, that could probably beat me up that mountain. Because this is an easy asphalt surface that takes me up to this water tower. And those of you who just think it's too much entirely, I invite you in your imagination to fly. So let us move up, and our breathing starts to get a little hard, except those of you who are flying. And we're wondering why on earth we decided to do this. And we move higher and higher and turn the corner, and then we see that there's yet another steep slope. So we move up that slope. And as we turn the corner, we see Thumb Butte, which this morning I imagined was giving me a thumbs up. Some encouragement. And as we move and we feel that earth and we hear the birds, the amazing spotted towhee that I hear every morning recently, and the ravens caw, and the mourning doves. And now we turn yet another corner and move up to that place where we can see Granite Mountain before us. Steady, her ancient rocks, reminding us how ancient this earth is that we are passing through. And yet each of us carries with us on this journey our joys and sorrows, and sometimes the weight of this world. We carry in this community we carry with us, especially today as we sit. Let us consider as we look out at Granite Mountain, let us consider Frank Beeson, who is in Phoenix now, his condition that had gotten better, deteriorated, and he is at the Mayo Clinic taking every possible test that they can imagine to give him, and lots of specialists speaking with one another. Let us send him our love and our hope. We also send our love out to Dan Reardon, who is healing from his knee surgery. We also send our energy out from Rhea to send healing thoughts to Bud Landon. We send our healing energy and hope continually to Molly Freibot, that woman who has become the mother of so many teens in trouble and lost her own son a couple of weeks ago. Let us hold her in the light of this community. And we also hold Dixie King. I visited her this week and her spirits are high. And she's grateful for the way we are holding her in our arms. I now invite all of you to listen to the music that is coming. Enter into a time when you consider the joys and sorrows in your life. And I invite you to come up as you listen to this music. You can meditate or walk up and put a stone in one of our bowls. We have one on either side to signify a joy or sorrow and those ripples going out among us. And if you have someone you would like to especially lift up from this pulpit, come up and talk with me or give me a piece of paper we have in the entryway where you can write down those joys and sorrows. Lena, thank you. A stone has been added for Gabe, Tracy and Chris's son, who has an internship with a Congressman Dan Goldman. Wow. And joy for Kat's friend. This is a friend of Maggie, her friend Kat, whose biopsy was benign. I think all of us know that joy. And concern for another friend's husband who has a brain tumor that may or may not be operable. And I hold also, I've been receiving lots of news through Molly Freibot of members of trans people in Prescott Valley who are experiencing some discriminatory action by their neighbors and don't feel safe to call the police and have that registered. Let us hold them. Please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we are here with that granite mountain that gave us the name of this congregation, that granite mountain that has withstood millions of years of history of floods and fires, and can teach us the way of resilience and the way of joy as we look at the sun glistening on that granite. May we be open to the ways of joy that we find around us in this beautiful world. And may those who are suffering find comfort. And may those who have joy feel our celebration with them. We say these things in your many names. Amen. And now let us sing our song. We use the words in this congregation. Traditionally, we use the words walking with you. And I am reminded every time we sing these words that walking is not an option for many people. And those are the words you have chosen. So when we sing those words, let us at least grow those words in our imagination of rolling and flying. Let us sing together. Walking with you, walking with you is my prayer.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. Let us remember that this congregation and its programs are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This is the last week for our August recipient, Hungry Kids. You can read more about them in your order of service or on the slide. To give online for those on Zoom, the link is available in the chat, or anyone can go to the donate button at the top of the website. Now, please enjoy this offertory music played by Mary Lou Prince, Sonora Morning. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through these offerings. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be.
I was caught up in the walk up to see Granite Mountain and forgot a very big joy, and that is Mary Ann Clark's religious birthday yesterday. Those of you who don't understand that, ask Art after the service and he will explain. And we are sending these flowers home with Art. I'm sure Mary Ann is exhausted, but these flowers will be a reminder of our celebration of her. Yesterday, after our gathering, I was exhausted. I sat on our deck and I breathed in the scent of the ponderosa pines that become stronger for me with the coming of night, that butterscotch scent. And I looked up and watched the two ravens who come to sit on a high branch to talk and groom each other at the end of the day. I took it in, listening and opening my senses as wide as I could, and I was filled. Robin Wall Kimmerer writes that by paying attention to the natural world, we are giving back. She wrote, "The land is the real teacher. All we need as students is mindfulness. Paying attention is a form of reciprocity with the living world, receiving the gifts with open eyes and open heart." The choir will now sing "Earth is Calling," a song Mary Lou and I were commissioned to write as the theme song for the Parliament of World Religions in 2015. In it, we express that oneness that comes with reciprocity, that oneness with the wind and the mountains and the bees. There will be words on the screen, and when you get the hang of it, please sing along.
You are blessed to live in an amazing place here in Prescott. The 1,400 million year old granite formations, the mountain ranges on two sides, the lakes and the forests of live oaks and ponderosa pines. Yesterday, after our workshop here, I strapped on my binoculars and I hiked on the Schoolhouse Gulch Road and up in the Prescott National Forest. And I could tell a fire had torn through that area. And because of that, perhaps exactly because of that, and because of the resilience of the forest community, it was full of life, full of new growth and old growth, full of acorn woodpeckers and lesser goldfinches and hummingbirds and warblers. It smelled fresh and alive, green and growing, or like Patty describes it, butterscotch scent of ponderosa. I am blessed to live somewhere beautiful too, in the coastal hills of the Kumeyaay people, the land we now call San Diego. I love walking and biking along the trails of a canyon near me called McGonigal Canyon. It's a coastal hills wilderness, this area, with California live oaks, sprawling sycamores, towering Torrey pines, and blooming sagebrush. It is gorgeous in different ways all year round. Swallowtail butterflies lay eggs in the wild fennel. Wren-tit birds call out from under toyon bushes with their characteristic beep, 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 beep call. When I go into this canyon, this little strip of wilderness in the city, I feel alive and peaceful and held. At some of my most stressed out times, I have felt the presence of the holy there in the breeze, the spirit of life surrounding me. When I'm in that canyon, my senses come alive and my body relaxes in a way I just can't do indoors. There, Amongst the plant and the animal community of the chaparral, I feel consoled and brought home to myself. Perhaps you too have found deep consolation in wild places in your life. We need those wild places. But such wild places are becoming more and more rare. Wilderness and sprawling Western cities is quickly getting bulldozed and boxed in and strained and squeezed. My wild canyon itself has a highway running through one side of it. For years, I would go on my walks in McGonigal Canyon and I would feel the joy, but I would also feel so much despair. Despair about how the coastal hills used to all be this unspoiled, with such harmonious and resilient ecosystems. And I would silently give thanks to whatever humans, whoever they were, who fought to preserve this canyon, to let the live oak and the sage and the animals have a home. But one day, as I was walking through the canyon, my dog stuck her nose in the bushes. And I noticed something peculiar about the live oak tree that I had never noticed before. Little poles on either side, the kind that you put on a young tree when it's planted. I looked beside the sprawling sycamore, and yes, there were poles. It suddenly dawned on me, this canyon was not wilderness preserved, it was wilderness reclaimed. It turns out this wild canyon had been ranch land and agricultural land, perhaps going all the way back to the Spaniard time. Its natural state had been quite disrupted before the condos and the malls and the highways moved in. It turned out that this wild canyon that I enjoy today is an ecosystem intentionally cultivated by people with the wisdom of millions of years of evolution in mind. That makes me think about our lives and our congregations. What is our spiritual community's spiritual task? It is not to prevent change and preserve everything, even though sometimes I think that would be nice. It is not to keep bad things from ever happening. We couldn't do that if we tried. Our spiritual task instead is to find a way to tend and retend the ecosystem of our congregation and our community so it can thrive through all kinds of upsets. So it can be reborn and renewed to bring forth the congregation's healing and life-giving potential, like that gulch trail that I was on yesterday after the fire. Our congregations can be an ecosystem intentionally cultivated by people with the wisdom of millions of years of evolution in mind. In this time when our lives and our congregation are still feeling the effects of the pandemic disruption, as we recognize that we're still off kilter, still out of balance, we too have a chance to reorient ourselves toward ancient wisdom. That ancient wisdom that tells us how to be in relationship with one another and the holy. We can rebuild and reclaim a wilderness ecosystem, a healthy and vibrant, life-giving way of being amidst it all. The wilderness of Granite Peak UU was not just disrupted by this pandemic. You've also had very significant ministerial and staff transitions, people moving, people dying. You've had a changing political climate, rising division and anxiety in our culture all around. You've had a lot of change that's affected your ecosystem these past 7 years that I've been working with you on regional staff. I spent the day yesterday with about 60 members and friends of this congregation, thinking and dreaming together about who you are and who you are becoming, how you can enact your deep purpose as a congregation and transform lives and live boldly together. And this morning, I ask you that question in a different way. I ask, how can GPUUC be like that canyon I described, a disrupted place that is growing into a wildly healthy and resilient place? It takes some intention, like the intention and organization of those people who planted those little native oaks and pine seedlings and spread those grass seeds. What kind of an ecosystem do you want to collectively nurture? The more I learn about growing things, the more I learn about the importance of soil. The quality of the soil and the organisms in it can make or break out our best laid landscaping plans. A wild canyon ecosystem cannot thrive without a healthy mix of soil. It's the thing that makes everything and everyone else be able to grow and thrive. For a congregation, I would say the soil is the congregation's culture. So what kind of a congregational culture will enable the big ponderosa pines of spiritual transformation to flourish? What kind of a congregational culture enables courageous love to take root and spring up in unexpected beautiful places, bright and beautiful like the showy penstemon flowers? What kind of a congregational culture will support many cultures within and around it, like the mix of grasses in the meadow whose nutrients support the other species thriving? A good culture for a congregation like the soil of a wild canyon doesn't just have one recipe. The elements of the soil vary from place to place, even within one canyon. We can be a multicultural congregation, a community of communities, as Paula Cole-Jones describes us. But the thing that makes the congregation work culturally is that soil is life-giving. Collectively, then, how do we nurture the soil? How do we nurture the culture of GPUUC to bring life to our mission and actualize our transformative power in the lives of all who participate? Well, those of you who work with soil, particularly in your own backyards, know that we could probably learn a thing or two about soil from composting. I call it spiritual composting. When we engage in spiritual composting, we're turning the garbage of the past into life-giving lessons for the future. So first, in composting, diverse ingredients help. If you've ever tried to make a compost without diversity, it just doesn't work. Piles of green grass will turn to mush. Piles of fruit will rot. Piles of leaves just decay. Diversity is an asset when you're building compost, as it is when you are building true community. And this is not just a diversity of identity, although that is important. It's a diversity, too, of experience and a diversity of perspective. As a congregation is working through the hurts and the disruptions of the past or the pain of the present, the process of lifting up different voices and hearing everyone's stories with respect and acceptance helps us. As we listen deeply to one another, as we feel heard, our energy begins to transform. We learn from one another. The way we connect with one another changes, and wisdom begins to emerge. So, what did we learn as a congregation from that experience? What values have we discovered that we cherish? What new promises do we want to make? Second, though diversity is good for compost, not everything belongs there. Some stuff will actively get in the way of the processing that needs to happen. Meats and fats, animal excrement, plastic forks, banana stickers. Each has its place in the world, but it is not in the compost. Likewise, a healthy congregational community has some boundaries on what kind of behavior is acceptable and not acceptable. It's really hard to do the tender and vulnerable work of deep listening and spiritual growth and healing when people are behaving in destructive ways. Maintaining a covenant of right relations and a destructive behavior policy and just a culture that says, hey, we don't do that here. Those things help the congregation stay attentive to the safety of the space, creating a healthier chemistry among the people and deepening trust. Related to boundary setting is the third thing that we can learn from compost, which is to hold people, to hold the community, not too tightly, but not too loosely either. A compost bin does not work if it's packed too tight. but it doesn't work if it's too loosely piled either. A compost bin, to do its transformative healing work, it needs to be just right. The congregation needs to give people enough space to be their authentic and independent selves, but also be close enough to express a collective and interdependent identity. Close enough for there to be a we, and far enough apart to be able to still have an I. We each have our own stories, and together we have a story. We each have our own values, and together we have our values. And we need to have room for others to join us and help us write their story and create our values together. The way we hold each other in mutual support, close enough, but always making space for new folks, is foundational to the thriving congregational ecosystem. And finally, there's the work of turning the compost. The compost must be turned over and stirred regularly with a pitchfork in order for it to do the work of transformation. For us, this means turning over memories, events, and experiences in our heads, talking and listening with others, telling our story until we understand the experience in a newly empowering way. Noticing and claiming our own parts in the messes of the past, gaining insight into how we might do things differently in the future. Yesterday, as we talked about the purpose and the direction of this congregation, we were turning that metaphorical compost, so to speak, helping GPUUC gain healing and wisdom and empowerment for the future. And you'll get to turn it some more with the visioning team in the days and the months ahead. You together, you create the culture of Granite Peak UU congregation. That is our job as participants in a congregation, whether we're brand new or whether we are lifelong members or anything in between. We create the soil. We together can manage this forest, this ecosystem of a congregation for maximum health and diversity. And we don't have to be any kind of a leader to do it. Yesterday, we played a game during the workshop where people all stood in a circle and everybody chose a leader at random. And we all ended up leading each other to do the same movement as we mirrored each other. It was amazing. And it shows how you don't have to be a leader to affect the congregation. You don't have to be an official leader. But we all have a part. All the small actions, all the small interactions we have here at Granite Peak, the ways we say hello, the response we write on that email, the way we catch ourselves before the potentially hurtful words come out of our mouths, the way we apologize and make amends when they do come out of our mouths, the way we speak up in love when we disagree, and the way we show respect to one another, the way we find the courage to be vulnerable, the way we let ourselves learn and be transformed. All of these interactions, small and large, they add up to our culture here. This is how we together are the soil that helps this ecosystem thrive. What makes your mission, your brave connections, your deepened spirituality, your embodied justice, and your steadfast love, it's what makes it shine out into the world. And there is some good news. It's not always so much work, and you are not alone. Once ecosystems get going with a great mix of soil and plants and animals in them, they need less and less active tending to stay healthy. The ecosystem is always open to newcomers, always changing, always adapting, yet the system finds a sort of balance. Health and vibrancy create health and vibrancy. Life nurtures life. It becomes who we are and how we live. That canyon that I love to walk in, that wilderness reclaimed, it is not unique or alone, and you are not either. The health of that canyon is fed by a whole network of other wildernesses in our UU Pacific Western region, west and north to the coast, south and west to the desert, north and east across the Rockies and the plains, even north and south to the tundra and the tropics. Birds and butterflies travel all through those wild places. Bobcats and coyotes spread seeds in their scat, connecting the wildernesses. through the life of the plants. Even people exchange information about how to best care for these wild places. Just like this canyon is connected to a whole network of health, so are you. All of the other Unitarian Universalist congregations, your Unitarian Universalist Association, we are sharing in your journey, supporting you and helping you thrive. We are deeply interconnected. We are part of that interdependent web that our seventh principle so eloquently celebrates. As we continue moving out of the pandemic, moving deeper into a new ministry, and moving into our shared future, may we live into health. May we live into thriving. May it be so. Amen. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn 1028 from the Teal hymnal, The Fire of Commitment.
Wish the church of my childhood had had that song. Oh. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. We are grateful for these words we have heard today that lead us not only to protecting what is around us, but giving us the imagination to create what may have been lost, but also to create what we see in our imaginations as a new vision. May we have eyes to see what is possible, and may we give thanks for those who have used their imaginations so bravely and their energy to bring this congregation to where it is, and to heal this earth and to heal our communities. Amen. And now we will sing We Are One, a song that we wrote, another commission, and we wrote it right as that election of 2016 was coming to fruition. Let us sing. Many of you know this, you've sung parts of it. Please sing with us. And now we are going to extinguish our chalice, but before we extinguish our chalice, we're going to hold in our memories the concert on September 5th, and that it is at Trinity Presbyterian Church on Park Avenue. It starts at 7 p.m. And we will be singing about the lives of many, many women of courage. Dolores Huerta, Viola Jamula, Eleanor Roosevelt. And next week we will be lifting up the life of Helen Keller. And in our faith development today, I went over there before the service, and there are 2 women, educators, and women who themselves have low vision, who are introducing our children to that world. And it was exciting to see there was a Braille machine on one of the tables. There's lots of exciting things happening over there, and they will be coming next week to hear the story of when Helen Keller asked to be let in to pet and understand what a lion felt like. So now we will extinguish our chalice. Now that you have all that in your heads, okay. We extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, all of you who are with us on Zoom, you will be entering your breakout rooms. And here in this sanctuary, this is the time we invite any who are here for the first time or coming back to, and you would like to, not if this sounds like a horrible idea to you, but if you would like to rise and introduce yourselves. Okay. I don't like to introduce myself either, so I understand.